Guys, let's proceed quickly. Already we are 3 minutes late or 5 minutes. Chali. 10 minutes. You don't count my time. Let's finish it up. Which chapter? First page, is it? Yes. Okay, did I finish this first phase?
Those are administrative and exactly economic demands.
So today, both of you get up. Both of you get up quickly. Quickly get up and come here. Even after my arrival, she was standing with one, not even looking who is coming and who is going. Get up, both of you, come here. What was the notes that I given to you?
Sir, you gave demands of early national.
Now you don't waste my time. Come quickly here.
The economic reform.
Come.
So economic
Now.
administrative demands.
Give me the textbook. In that. Yeah. Did we discuss first objective, second objective? Page number 36. The boys have to keep quiet now.
We have to start defense of civil rights.
Which rights? Which rights? What is the trouble now? Yeah, lecture ends up till 8:30, is it? 8:35, 8:35. I'll have to finish first phase and get into second phase. Write up. Write down the notes because you people are not going to listen. No 2 minutes. Already 5-10 minutes have gone. Economic reforms. You have done all. Write the next heading. Constitutional reforms did we do? उसके बाद तो economic reforms आ रहा है ना. You write down the next heading. Methods of early nationalists. Methods of early nationalists.
Administrative demand and defense of civil rights.
वो भी कर दूँ? Defense of civil rights. Okay. अच्छा ठीक है. Write down that only. Administrative demands. I'm writing. Giving the notes. Copy it up. Point number 1. Yes, the early nationalists. Write down. The early nationalists raised RAISED following demands. Early nationalists raised the following demands. Point number 1. Indianization of ICSC exam. Indianization of ICS exam. Indian Civil Service. Indianization of ICS exam. Write the full form also. Indianization of ICS exam, both in India and England. Next. Executive and judiciary. Executive and judiciary, second point, must be separate altogether. Let's switch off the fans, is it? Yes, making a lot of noise. Executive and judiciary must be separated completely. Separated completely. Next. Local bodies. Local bodies. You can write municipal corporation or you write only municipal. Powers should be increased. What happened to this girl who did not write it? Powers should be increased. Powers. Powers should be increased. I want that the local level. Look at the happiness in that. Powers should be increased. Happy? Arms Act and License Act. Next point. Arms Act and License Act should be repealed. Cancel. Should be repealed. Should be repealed. Next. Increase in the employment opportunities. Increase in the employment opportunities. Especially in administrative services for Indians. Especially in the administrative services for Indians. Are you understanding administrative services? Only one is. Yes, sir. Thank you. Next. Spread of primary education and overall improvement. Writing overall improvement, primary education and overall improvement in the police system. Okay, your same textual points only, I tried my level best to make it easier and simpler. Just cross check and tell me right now. I think your batch is good ahead of any other batches because I haven't started. I have started first phase, second phase, but then let's see. No, you are ahead. You are going to finish the first phase and I'll start the second phase today only. Because I want to finish this 1, 2, 3 pages quickly, then maybe one chapter, then we'll start with World War. I want to start it as quickly as possible so that you guys get a good deal of the chapters because they are highly weighted. Come on. Tell me any point you want me to explain. Why is this boy crying? You will read. Oh. Yes. Crying for the fan is it? You wait.
So I can get Arms Act and License Act.
Because earlier you remember, Arms Act means no Indians can keep any arms without any license. And anywhere and everywhere the government of British introduced a license if Indians are going to use for it. So it should be repealed means it should be either revised or it should be done away with. Because the Britishers were worried for one more revolt which they don't want. And the Indians want for their safety they needed. Like yesterday or day before yesterday also in America, one crooked fellow has done so much. Again, Joe Biden is saying no, arms should be allowed. Any person who is close to the age of 18 also in America can buy a weapon and keep it in your house without any license. But then the hidden story is that in America there are large lobbies who pays huge money to the presidential house because their main business is arms selling only. अगर वो बंद कर देगा तो फिर, in fact, if you might have seen also, Barack Obama when he was retiring, he had a very influential speech and he started a bit emotional also. And then anyway, he was outgoing president, nobody listens to him. And even Trump also, Mr. Donald Trump, I always call him as an American Rahul Gandhi. Seriously. मतलब यहाँ से पिछड़ा और वहाँ जाके पैदा होते बस अमेरिकन है पर दोनों का बिहेवियर और बात करने का ढंग ये क्या थोड़ा कम बकबक करता है ट्रम्प जरा ज्यादा बकबक करता है in corona he has asked people to drink even the sanitizer and other things also and he himself had taken a shot of I don't know which injection he was saying कि मैं तो मास्क भी नहीं पहनेगा in fact इन दोनों का जो बाइडेन का और इसका जो मेन स्पीच रहता है ना वो opposition speech one was wearing a mask and speaking and Trump निकाल के ऐसे दिखा रहा था ये लोग no mask. So there is a group of frantic fan following for Trump because he said no mask. And Americans लोग ज़्यादा मारा फिर no mask. चलिए let's read this and tell me. Let's proceed. Don't sit here Ram Bharose. Read something. Let's get into the next heading. Defense of civil rights. ये सब जल्दी करते हैं फिर ये methods of early nationalists I'll discuss in detail and then we have prominent early nationalists that I'll straight away do it from your volume so that we can finish this chapter and start the second phase. Write down defense of civil rights. British government tried several attempts or many attempts. British government several attempts to tried several attempts to curtail. You understand curtail? CUR. The civil rights of the Indians. curtail the civil rights of Indians. Next. Some of the important demands of civil rights are. Point number 1. चलेगा भगवान को हाजिर राजी रख के पीना. Point number 1. Freedom of speech and freedom of press. Freedom of speech. Speech. I was having water in my hand. Freedom of speech and freedom of press should be with less or no restriction. Should be less or with no restriction. Should be less or with no restrictions. Second point. Abolition of. You directly copy. The Preventive Detention Act. ये मैं explain करता हूँ. Hopefully you'll ask me, sir, ये क्या होता है? मैं बोलूँगा. लिखो तो सही. And individual liberties. Sorry. Prevention Detention Act. P capital, D capital and A capital. Sorry, let me have some water going in. Detention Act and individual liberties should be restored. अब एक last point बोल देता हूँ, then I'll explain. Should be restored. Next. Right to assemble and right to form association. Right to assemble and right to form association must be restored or restored. Must be restored. Now look at that word, Preventive Detention Act. What anybody means by that preventive detention? If you remember that I had explained, what is that, Simon, go back?
Yes.
Who injured in that?
So Lal.
Kya Lal wala? Such a bad thing. No, good. I understand. And then we always remember only one thing. What is that? That the person was no more. If this act was implemented, they could have arrested the person well before that Simon Commission demonstration. Preventive detention, matlab before any leaders coming to Nehru area, some local people might have, be ready. जैसे आके उतरेगा उसको जाके हंगामा करने का. हाँ, ये होता है. So they will arrest them 2 days before only. And उनको बोला भी जाता है कि under so and so we are arresting you. You खाना पीना करके जेल में रहे. वो आके राउंड मार के जाने के बाद तुझे हम लोग रिलीज कर देंगे. समझ में आया क्या बोला मैंने? So this will be a curtailment of the individual freedom. That's what Indian felt it. What is the next thing that you have written along with that? What is that individual liberty according to you? Every person has, like you have, like I also have. Correct? I can't curtail your individual liberty only because I am holding an important position in the government. Similarly, any one rule or any one law cannot bring an end to my liberty. Like in India, every time and any time we speak about the greatest leader of the country, or Prime Minister or President. Is there any charge against you and me? Unless and until you are not trying to demean him, you're not even demean him without any proof, then the opposite person, man or a woman, can take action. If not generally passing, like there was a girl, I don't remember, in Bengal, where she made a meme of that CM, is it? Mamata Banerjee. And within 24 hours, that girl was put behind the bars.
Just a few weeks ago.
Here also, in Maharashtra. So, वो लोग बोलते हैं ये मेरा individual liberty में आता है. Who are you to charge me? And meme they say anybody and everybody. If you just like it, follow it. If not, just throw it out. Now I'm not going to colleges. Earlier I going to colleges. Some, especially with whom I'm very strict with certain boys, they make a picture of a donkey and maybe like man, फिर उधर अलग ही लिख दिया. I went in early morning 7:30 BMS lecture. Instead of reacting very harshly at them, such a beautiful painting is this. And I look so gorgeous and what. Next time you should make a dukkar, is it? लड़का बोला सर इनको dukkar also. मैं बोलते क्या मुझे नहीं आता कि मराठी और हिंदी. He said sorry sir मैंने बना. अरे it's okay man, what's it? I loving it. Next time दूसरा जानवर बना. And थोड़ा beautiful बना, चार पैर मत बना. And he said next time से नहीं बना. It's all who done it? ये क्या? That is his. And अगर आजकल के स्टूडेंट वैसे है, जितना मैं ज्यादा बोलने जाएगा उतना अच्छा, तुझे मजा आता है, चल इस कोर्स है, करेक्ट है ना? So it's like getting into a doctor's room and asking him, how are you? How is your health? Shall I give you some tablets? Injection. He will run out of his cabin. नहीं लेना ही पड़ेगा. You know how to? मुझे सीख लूँगा. तेरे से पहले मारने का सीखना. So it is your individual liberty to say what you want. But then there is I think now also certain channel says, freedom of speech carries some restriction. You can't speak anything and everything. You have to limit. I don't understand it. So here, the Britishers were not allowing the Indians to express them freely. Is it curtailing their individual liberty? Yes. So now they are asking that only. And this girl is scratching her head. Yeah, okay. I run through all the points and tell me where you want me to explain. तुम्हारा पेरेंट्स से बात करने से instead of that girl. No, the body language, looking at the teacher and the way you are studying. Marks, मैंने कभी आप लोग का behavior marks से जोड़ा है क्या? आज तक पूछा भी है? And then why evidence? अच्छा marks मिला तो मैं कैसे पैर उठा के ऊपर डाल के बैठेगा? डाल लो. Possible.
Sir, there was no right to assemble or right to form.
If you remember that Jallianwala Bagh, that's the biggest one. At that time, it was a special law. Martial law was also imposed.
So then, how was the IMC?
What is that? IMC
form.
देखो IMC formation initially they did not form. चलो आ जाओ टी पार्टी एक 4,000 लोग को नहीं बुलाया. Hardly एक 15 या 20 जन रहेगा. 78 people था. And that was also closed door. And to be very frank with you, when IMC people will sit, it's like more like a corporate meeting only. Very well dressed, everyone will sit. And then, oh, it's okay. Good. You are meeting today? Wonderful. Shall we meet next week? Okay. They are not going to chant any slogan. They are not going to sit in front of the government office. Nothing. I think somebody asked me, sir, you said pro-British. What is pro-British? Initially, they were writing petitions just to keep them happy only. और उल्टा वो लोग ये भी बोलता था हम लोग आपसे हमेशा लॉयल ही रहेगा. अभी कौन सा ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट उसको बैन करने वाला है? बोलते एक छोटा एसोसिएशन है, जाने दो. फिर बाद में the extremists joined it, which we are going to start in the second phase. Then the according to your language, it becomes robust. You understand what is robust? चलो उठो मारो काटो. नहीं बैठो बैठो बात करेंगे. इनका तरीका है बोलने का. Correct? Is there any other lines? Absolutely. Let us get into put the next heading in a notebook. You write methods of early nationalists. In that first one, second one, third one, and fourth one. The first method, it is the first objective. Correct? Second objective. And next it is, that's it I think, 2, 3 and 4. So, yeah. I can understand. AC is not, sorry, tripped off. Look at the first objective. I am only taking it, the reading so that it goes a bit fast. Educate the people, underline, in Indian modern politics. If I keep, narrating the incidents which is happening in India and which is happening in the world, what is your first reaction? No reaction at all. That is the first reaction. When I keep repeating so many events which is happening in India, happening in abroad, what is your first reaction? Curiosity increases. What?
Exasperation and curiosity.
Oh my God, ये तो बड़ा word है. मुझे नहीं समझता. What is exasperation means? जो हमारे समझ के बाहर है. Simple thing, I'm asking you to at least watch some news channels. At least understand what is not there in the textbook. Now, we are running for some gold medal, and these boys are only in the consolation prize only. अभी तुझे ही बोल रहा हूँ. क्या? Second line. Modern politics to arouse, underline, political consciousness, and underline public opinion, united public opinion. Now, out of the three words which you feel Indians did not have,
United public opinion.
all the three they did not have. Correct, Anna?
Yes.
Look at the next one. For this purpose, they relied on the following methods. Now you have to underline, and then I'll make you to write. People are all dreaming you. They held meetings where, underline, speeches were made, resolution for popular demands were passed. ये पहला point रहेगा. Meetings and resolutions for popular demands. उतना ही लिखने का. Second point, made use of, underline, press to criticize the government policies. If you remember, the paper started by Lokmanya Tilak in Maharashtra, Kesari. It is as good as, I think, the Thackeray family runs a newspaper. Sakal, but I don't think Samna. Earlier, when Balasaheb Thackeray was alive, he used to write fiery speeches, especially against Sonia Gandhi. In fact, I had witnessed 3 important meetings of him in Dadar Shivaji Park. Every year, I think Dashera, is it? Dashera. This Thackeray family will have a meeting in Shivaji Park, and lorries of people will come all the way from different parts of Maharashtra. And बड़ा giant screen डाल देता है. मुझे ज़्यादा मराठी तभी समझ में नहीं आता था. I was in my college days only, close to Dadar. So one of my friends, चल बालासाहब ठाकरे से मिलाता हूँ. बोले कैसे? But वो openly आते हैं. And he was openly asking the Indian government कि मुझे 3 महीने के लिए आर्मी मेरे हाथ में दे दो. I will finish Pakistan from the world map. अभी ये possible नहीं है, but फिर भी he has the guts to speak. And he always used the word Pakistan or Pak very openly and upfrontly. And he used to say, how many amount of Muslims living in India, we do not have any issues. But Pakistan always creates a fear in the mind. In fact, if I tell you, number of Muslims in India is greater than in Pakistan. हमारे पास उतने ज़्यादा Muslims हैं. But why this Pakistan is pinning them from behind? Correct? So we can say only the leaders are fighting. Do you think the common people are fighting? They are very happy and peaceful. So you and me have to think like that only. Whatever the leaders say, let them say. अभी ये press क्या important role play करेगा? I remember an English proverb saying. What is that proverb saying? That sword might injure hundreds and thousands, but the pen might injure lakhs and lakhs of people. Indirectly, क्या बताना चाह रहा है? The words that you write using your pen can influence so many people. फिर हमारा लड़का बोलता हाँ सर मैंने भी 2 साल इतना गंदा हैंडराइटिंग लिखा है ना. It doesn't injure many people. Nobody is happy with my writings. ये इंजरी हो सकता है. But there are certain people who write certain things. वो पढ़ने के बाद हमको लगता है these are the strong words. And if I want to mention, it was Mahatma Gandhi. Even inside when he was in prison or in jail, he will keep writing, keep publishing. And even a boy of around, I think 6 or 7 years old, given him a small pencil. Gandhiji has kept that pencil in his safe box, saying that this is a gift from my youngest fan. इतू सा पेंसिल. तो इसलिए आज भी मैंने किसी स्टूडेंट को देखा हुआ छोटा सा पेंसिल लिखते समय, it is Gandhiji's pencil. Seriously. So why I'm saying that was the effect of this Gandhi, right from a small child to a big man. Now you see little bit of crazy. I don't know whether it is good or bad. Many people like or not like. When this Prime Minister of India goes abroad, even the smallest kid come and talk to them. अभी उसको मालूम ही नहीं है कौन है कहाँ से आया. But at least उसके मम्मी ने रात भर पट्टी पढ़ा रहेगा. वो आएगा ना ऐसे ऐसा बोलने. और बेचारा बच्चा भी पैर से बोल भी देता है ना. I think if you remember that 26/11 attack, that Irani house hai, kaun sa tha house hai. The boy was not even 3 or 4 years old when the terrorists of Pakistan shot dead their mom and dad. And उनकी एक nanny रहती थी, मतलब she was an Indian lady. She took this child from the mother and she ran away. So boy अभी 12 साल का है वो लड़का, 12 या 15 साल का है. Last time Modi ji went to Israel, that boy met Mr. Modi. And Modi ने बोला जिस जगह पर तेरा mom dad का ये हुआ, you are most welcome. So this is what we connect our country to people from foreign. अब इतना दूर क्यों जाता है? Wasim Akram, one of the captain of Pakistan cricket team, his wife died in Chennai. Before he could come from Pakistan, Sunil Gavaskar from Maharashtra, and then Krishnamachari Shrikant from Chennai, they only arranged every formality. So now also we say Ajay Jadeja, one of the good player in India, has a very good friend from Pakistan cricket team called Shahid Afridi. बस हम लोग भी लड़ते रहते हैं इंडियन टीम में, उन लोग तो बिंदास बैठ के बात करते. Good friends are. Cricket अलग है, friendship अलग. So are you understanding? So that's what we are teaching you. Professional life हमेशा अलग रहा. Let's see. Second point where I was reading. First objective, is it?
Yes.
They made use of the press to criticize the government policies. They sent, underline, memorandums and petitions to the British Parliament, to the government officials and British. These petitions carefully वो सब नहीं चाहिए. Second objective was to influence, underline, British government and the British public. अभी ये काम आके कुछ associations London में born हुआ. And who was the most popular? Dadabhai Naoroji. They were the people they associated there in London, and they made English people understand what this British government is doing in India. So many British people started to hate the British government policy where? In India. Like now the present Ukraine and Russia, correct? There are many Russians living in Ukraine and many Ukrainians living in Russia. In fact, their language, their culture is more or less same. But then the trouble is all because of this America. ना वो NATO का membership के लिए उसको बुला था, ना ही ज़ेलेंस्की मैं NATO का member बनेगा, इतना problem. अभी वो छोड़कर और दो countries को लोग ना NATO का membership के लिए बोला, and they have really applied a letter also. अभी I don't know when Mr. Putin called Hitler is going to turn to them, and we don't want the war to be elongated. Correct? So let's proceed with that. British public. To achieve this objective, they followed the following methods. They made use of, underline, 3 P's: petitions, prayers, and protests. Yes. Memorandum means a legal letter giving to the government. एक warning भी रह सकता है. That is ultimatum. Warning रहेगा तो ultimatum लिखेंगे. ये नहीं बंद होगा, वो बंद होगा. ये चालू है ना? अच्छा, I'll switch off this and switch on that because it is making noise exactly when I'm shouting. Will do? Now let's proceed. And then what else? Hey, shall I give this or you can write on your own? Better. A British committee of INC was set up in London. Underline that, 1889. Deputation of Indian leaders was sent to Britain. Hey, what is deputation? You can write government missionaries or government ministers. Indian leaders were sent to Britain to talk to them. For example, Dadabhai Nehruji spent major part of his life in Britain. That's what I told. He only formed that association in London. Then achievements, I'm not reading it. Just run through and tell me. Achievements, I have to give it in your notebook. Then criticism is done. This chapter will come to an end with certain leaders. Read it and tell me. If not, I am going to give the achievements in your notebook. Write down this heading. You are just going to talk. Achievements of early nationalists. Point number 1. Yeah, out of this lot activity, how many are schools already opened up?
No, sir.
This Wednesday.
Next Thursday.
Why you don't want to go? फिर क्या घर में बैठ के क्या? Good man.
Yes, sir.
Point number 1. Start writing. The early nationalists created a sense of awakening and national consciousness. Created awakening and national consciousness. Consciousness. Second point. They popularize the ideas of. Democracy, secularism. They popularized the ideas of democracy, secularism, nationalism, and civil liberties. Liberties nahi likhna, you can rights, civil rights also. Next. Explaining and emphasizing the need of economic programs to weaken the foundation of British economic programs to weaken the foundation of British rule in India. British rule in India. Next. Several other reforms like one, point number 1. You directly copy from your textbook. Whose book it is? All that points are there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's a book, is it? Okay, copy down that, and you have a query, please ask me. So quickly, right? So quickly, I can explain if you have a query. House of Commons, like Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha.
what is the well-being commission?
Now I'm going to explain. Need you to write so that people busy writing, and we'll explain them.
So, and the knowledge behind some of the so rather than knowledge, other reformers were in England. So they started like giving out their ideas and spreading ideas to the British locals here. So
Not ideas, the facts.
yeah, the facts. So
Facts
they're
only.
not like oppressed by the government, like they are spreading such news.
Dekho, they were big merchants, they were big traders. In fact, this fellow has written even IAS exams also. And they've got, not ordinary people going, they stay in London and spreading, nobody will allow. In fact, he got elected to one of the seats in England, this man. So he was a minister there. So how do you, British government will allow any ordinary people to go there? Shall we confirm? Now look here, let me, when I'm looking at these points the first point I think somebody asked me, where is it? A Public Service Commission in India, 1886. Earlier it was both in India and London. A resolution of Commons for simultaneous, this also both London and India. Appointments of Welby Commission on Indian expenditure. If you remember very clearly, when Queen Victoria takes the oath, there was a big party thrown here in India. Did I not say? But now they are saying ki why Indian expenditure for event which is happening in London. So in future, that kind of expenditure that the British government should not do. Because it is our own tax money. It's like, I don't know how many of you remember, there was a captain of England cricket team, Mark, I forgot his name. He's a commentator also. When he became the cricket captain of England, people in Chennai started distributing sweets and firecrackers. Because uske mummy Chennai ki rehne wali thi. But then when he came to India, he said 5-star hotels of India is like dhabas of London. What's his name here? He's a test cricket captain only. I'll recollect his name. So why I'm saying something which is happening in your country, why are you spending lavishly here? And it is not needed. So that is that Welby Commission on expenditure. And then the next one is what? Indian Council Act of 1892. Here there are some clauses where the membership will be increased, Indians will be given more powers, etc. etc. Is it okay? Shall we go into the criticism? Now this I'm not going to give notes. We'll be just reading and explaining. Will do? Okay, let him only read. Criticism. You only. I don't recollect your name. Sriraj.
Early nationalists have been criticized on the following grounds. First, the methods used by the early nationalists of passing resolutions and sending petitions were criticized.
Only circle the word inadequate. I mean, I can put that same word for you and me. How do I explain? You are getting 20, you are getting 18, like this girl told me. It's good. But then the final music is your board exam. Like you are playing the whole matches wonderfully well. Suddenly in final yesterday only, na? In fact, I and my friend had booked some good seats in some good restaurants, so-called restaurants. But unfortunately, वो आया नहीं. मैं भी अपना लेक्चर छोड़ के ऑलमोस्ट उधर चले भी गया. बोलते सॉरी मैं अभी आ रहा हूँ. मतलब मैं अंदर जाके क्या करेगा? The table is booked. And then I drive out from that place. It was a wonderful place. हम लोग ने बहुत कुछ planning किया. अरे मैच देखने के लिए क्या होता है? ऐसा भी तो पहला मैच भी तो हम लोग उससे भी अच्छा जगह में बैठे. अभी वही बताओ. So when your final exams comes, your UT will give you lots and lots of writing practice. अभी तो ये आप लोग का छोटा-छोटा टेस्ट चल रहा है. Now we'll have FT1, FT2, FT3, FT4 तक आएगा full test. बच्चा बोलेगा यार इतना टेस्ट ये लिखवाया बोर्ड एग्जाम का तो जरूरत ही नहीं है. इधर ही मैं 15 बोर्ड एग्जाम लिख रहा हूँ. Are you understanding? Indirectly we are giving you that only. When the real board exam comes, our students are thoroughly prepared for it. Correct? So that is that final show. So whatever small things these people are doing, it is just inadequate. Inadequate for what? for the full freedom. ये petitions कितना साल लिखेगा? And even if they reject the petition, they write one more petition. इससे थोड़ी independence मिलने वाला है. Neither independence comes in a sealed envelope, nor it is going out in a sealed stamp. You have to grab the neck and you have to get the freedom out of the person. But Gandhiji was of a different opinion. Okay, he got stints for that word. Chalo, आगे.
As inadequate. They depended on the generosity of the British instead of relying on their own strength and challenging the...
Underline that word, generosity. I really love this word in English. How do you explain that word? Sir, अगर आपको अच्छा लगे तो हमको दे दो. हाँ, we will be loyal, sir. We will not fight against you, sir. ये सब इतना सर बोलेगा तो देगा. I'll think over. निकल जाएगा. ओए, किधर जा रहा है? This is my country, my nation. Who are you? Are you not going to give? Tomorrow morning you get up from the bed, you will see what happens. बस बोल के निकल जाओ वहां से और रात भर सोएगा नहीं. है ना? The next morning he gets up. I bring a newspaper and a rose for him. This is going to happen. अरे इसके लिए पूरा रात भर में नींद आ गया. समझा क्या हो गया? मतलब he was expecting ahs and oohs और ये तो पुस निकला. So don't depend on their generosity. Give them a hack. But then these Bhagat Singh and other extremist group, वो थोड़ा बहुत ही ज़्यादा हो गया, है ना? So we have to be moderates. अभी second phase is a moderates only. थोड़ा बहुत push, थोड़ा बहुत let us. थोड़ा बहुत push, थोड़ा बहुत let us. But third जो group आता है, कुछ भी नहीं. चलो बॉम्ब किधर फोड़ने का बोलो. तो तुरंत हमारा बच्चा सर झंडू बम. छक ये नहीं. तूने ही बोला ना बॉम्ब पूछ रहे थे ले झंडू. And in our own family, we have all types of characters. I'm sorry to say the poor papa. कुछ भी हो जाए. आपको जरा भी है नहीं था शादी से पहले. है ना? फिर मम्मी हर एक बात के लिए किचन में क्रांति. And then papa understood मम्मी चलो हम चुपचाप. And बच्चा are the other way. They are the evidences. है ना? क्या डैडी फिर क्या? नहीं कुछ तो बेचारा पापा ऑलरेडी टेंशन में बैठा है. अभी जाके मम्मी नहीं रहने थे ना तो कुछ मांडोली कर रहे हैं. So look, all the three phases are there in our family. One is the early nationalist papa बेचारे, and you and me are moderates, है ना? थोड़ा पुश करने का, थोड़ा लेटर लिखने का. पापा बोलूं क्या? And मम्मी जो एक्सट्रीमिस्ट चलो उठो खातो मारो. पापा बोलते नहीं मैं तो हंगर स्ट्राइक में बैठा. So this is what you and me have to see. It is their difference. अबे देखो प्रॉब्लम सबके लाइफ में है. मतलब प्रॉब्लम मतलब लाइफ मतलब प्रॉब्लम. एंड जैसे मैंने आज बोला yesterday I met with an accident. अच्छा मैं तो हर रोज गिरता हूँ. बोले कैसे? अपने फ्लोर से नीचे गिरता हूँ. What does it mean? He has taken the problem like that. Oh, don't worry, man. The problems can be solved anyhow. You have to have a positive attitude. तुरंत कोई गारमेंट कंपनी आता है. What happened? हाँ, कोई गारमेंट कंपनी आता है. वीकेंड आई थी. Excuse me, sir. इतना लेट आया. The garment companies writes the slogan, wear your positive attitude. Weekend आई थी. मतलब ड्रेस पहनने के बाद कौन सा पॉजिटिव एटीट्यूड या नेगेटिव एटीट्यूड आता है. सो वी ऑलवेज बिलीव दैट एवरी solution as a problem, it is you. How do you face it? How do you face it? Calmly and coolly. बहुत प्रॉब्लम है आज. ठीक है देखिए बहुत ज्यादा है. अच्छा देखिए अभी जाने का कर जाएंगे. Don't jump into the conclusion. Then the trouble comes. है ना? अभी जाने का, अभी का करने का. And that is the best example. And कुछ भी होता है डैड कोई रिएक्ट नहीं करता. वेरी हैप्पी. पापा आप कैसे पहले से ऐसे थे? नहीं बस मम्मी जब से लाइफ में आई तो तू जब से बॉर्न हुआ उससे तो और मतलब इनडायरेक्टली इज गिविंग कॉम्प्लीमेंट टू अस. वेरी गुड. मैं ऐसे. So when you go to that stage, then you will understand the way you finally, punch the lines at your dad. ये क्या है? क्या जिंदगी जी रहा है तू? तो लड़का बोलता है पापा आप जो बोला ना वो राइट ही था. अभी मेरा भी जिंदगी वैसे ही चल रहा है. So we always believe these moderates have to be taught at least good punching line. Which line? Like that Lokmanya Tilak line. What is that line? स्वराज इज माय birthright and I shall have it at any cost. ये बोलने का ढंग से ही वो बेचारा सामने वाला डरना चाहिए. सामने वाला स्वराज है ना, birthright है ना. You should watch the old movie of Ashok Kumar. दादा मुनि बोलते हैं उनको. And it's a very black and white movie. मैंने भी movie नहीं देखा. He is proposing to the girl. He has lettered the entire proposal in a small piece of paper, and he's reading exactly. And वो लड़की बेचारी 2 मिनट के लिए उधर खड़ी रहती है झाड़ के पीछे. And जैसे ही ये बोलता है मैं आपको पसंद करता हूँ, तुरंत वो ईमा भाग जाती है. और ये बेचारा पूरा 5 मिनट तक ऊपर. And then afterwards, क्या आपका जवाब नहीं आया? कुछ तो बोलिए ना. चलिए बेचारा ऐसा झाड़ के पीछे जाके कोई है ही नहीं. Now let us convert that same scene now. Absolutely हाँ देखो तुरंत. सर अभी टाइम नहीं है सर. या तो हाँ बोल या तो ना बोल. क्यों? वेटिंग में है. लड़की भी बोलते मैं भी 2 को छोड़ के अभी आई तेरे को. तू भी जल्दी ना बोल. Times have changed. I can't say मेरा अरे उसका टाइम है जाने देना. तू क्यों फिक्र कर रहा है? हाँ सर वो भी एक बात है. So we always believe with the changing times you have to change. But that doesn't mean we call our papa to be mama and mama to be papa. ऐसा भी नहीं आने का, है ना? इतना भी change नहीं होने का. चलिए let's proceed.
They failed to realize that British and Indian interests clashed with each other. Britain was using India's resources to increase its wealth. The early nationalists failed to draw the masses into the mainstream of the national movement. Their area of influence was limited to the urban educated Indians. In particular, the leadership was confined to professional groups such as lawyers.
तो ये उनका criticism है यहाँ से. The leadership of INC was confined to lawyers, doctors and journalists and teachers. ये भी नहीं लिखने का, आप एग्जाम में लिखने का elite learned people. उतना ही लिखो. इतना ग्रुप को याद करने का भी जरूरत नहीं. Now check all the criticism and tell me, is there any criticism you want me to give explanation again? Absolutely. चलिए. Then you pick up your volume only. We will mark these 3 leaders. Time है. और बात सुनो. Volume नहीं लाया तो textbook ले लो. That's better because volume gives you easy direct points. If you do not have the volume, textbook is better. Letter. Where it is? एक मुस्लिम लीग है, उसके बाद डायरेक्टली विल जंप टू द वर्ल्ड वॉर 1. नहीं ना, सेकेंड थर्ड फेज के बाद बोला. Where is it in page number in your volume? It's on page number 40. Dadabhai Nauruji. You underline, make points here and learn straight away from here only. No need to wait for instant much. है ना? चलिए. पहला पॉइंट लिखने का, he was popularly known as Grand Old Man of India. बस उतना ही चलेगा. Born in Parsi family, September 4 होना ही चाहिए. Second point, worked as a professor ही लिखो in Elphinstone College. ये कॉलेज अभी भी है. It's a very popular college in Mumbai. Then he left, वो भी नहीं चाहिए. He refused to Mumbai, वो भी नहीं चाहिए. He founded the Bombay Association and edited the newspaper. जब when you are writing the Hindi word, ना careful with the spelling. It is Rast Gufta. I don't know what is it. Parsi word or Hindi word? And magazine वगैरह छोड़ देना. Directly come down to contributions. Dadabhai was looked upon. Underline. Unofficial ambassador. और directly भी लिख सकते हैं. He was an unofficial ambassador in England. You understand unofficial? Nobody has appointed him, but he worked in such efficiency. Like he asked me, nobody really stopped him or what. He had very good connections in London also. Next, he founded London India Society, along with W.C. Banerjee. You write 1865. थोड़ा सा words को jumble up करो, so that आपको learn करने में easy रहेगा. Correct? And then he was in favor of वो भी नहीं चाहिए. It was through his effort और directly his efforts है ना, उसको cut करके through his efforts 1893 House of Commons passed a resolution of ये भी इतना बड़ा नहीं चाहिए. ICS exam in India and England was his effort. Correct? Was due to his efforts. In 1866 he founded East India Association in London. Its branches established in Kolkata, Mumbai and Chennai. ऐसे लिखो. Its branches. समझा? Instead of writing so this. And then role in the Congress ये तो मैं नहीं करूँगा. You read it and ask me if you have any query. Whose volume it is? Oh, it's mine. Then we have 2 persons. Then we will get into our next topic. Time है, I know. 3 minutes are there. क्या पूरा हम दोनों का लेक्चर में यही तुम लोग गिन रहा था, कभी 7 होगा, कभी 8 होगा, फिर 8:30 होगा. Not a single minute. Saying yes also. So you could have been kept outside, clockman, clock boy. Not even mad. Hey, read it. Oh, he's talking. Oh my man. Future. Hey, don't take these chapters lightly, man. That's what I want to say. He was a president for 3 times. That's what I can see. So one of the addresses. Hey, shall we do one thing? Since you guys are picking up your talking, I could understand that you are so restless for analyze from the class. You come down to page number 46, only pick the questions and then you can keep moving. And question number 1, 2, already done. 3, then 4. 4 है. And who came to be known as? अभी हम लोग उन्हीं के बारे में कर रहे हैं. 6. That's enough. You can pack your bag. So we are waiting to drop the words from my mouth.
But it really makes news about MI6 stated that MI6 the state here
इसके पहले लोग क्या बैठो किधर जा रहा है बैठो no शिवलक अच्छा no earlier they said बैठो ना this girl एक तो पीछे से देखता हूँ मुझे डर भी लगता है But when he was there in the parade, many news channel reported that he was fit and fine. What is the stage for cancer?
MI6 expired.